A black mechanic was making his way home along a desolate highway, braving one of the fiercest snowstorms of the year, with his young daughter asleep peacefully in the back seat. The road was a blur of white chaos, but his eyes stayed sharp on what lay ahead. Suddenly, out of nowhere, he spotted something. A luxury SUV. Stranded, silent, lights blinking like a distress signal in the snow. Without a second thought, without pausing to weigh the risks, he made a decision that would change everything. He broke through the frozen window, yanked open the door with everything he had, and pulled out an unconscious white woman, nearly frozen from the cold grip of the storm. What he didn't know. She wasn't just any woman. She was a high-powered CEO. And this one selfless act, this one moment of kindness, it was going to rewrite both of their stories forever. Before we go further, drop your location in the comments. We love knowing where you're tuning in from. And let us know your thoughts because this story hits deep. The wind screamed across Route 47 like it had something to say, ripping through the pines, swirling snow in angry spirals across the cracked old road. Malik Brown's hands tightened around the steering wheel of his aging Chevy. His fingers, wrapped in cracked work gloves, looked almost bone-white against the wheel's worn leather. The heater coughed out a pitiful stream of lukewarm air, barely enough to clear the frost clawing at the inside of the windshield. He gave a quick glance at the rearview mirror. There she was, his daughter Nia, just 6 years old, curled up under a blanket that had seen better days. Her tiny breaths fogged up the window beside her. She looked so peaceful, so untouched by the chaos outside. Her lashes fluttered slightly as she dreamed. They looked just like her mother's. Malik's muscles ached. 12 grueling hours at the garage, wrestling rusted bolts, lying on freezing concrete floors, breathing in engine fumes that clung to his skin like a second layer. He still reeked of oil and sweat. But none of it mattered now. All he wanted was to get home. Safely. To warmth. To quiet. The snowstorm had hit fast. Too fast. Even for Montana. The radio crackled with weather warnings. Whiteout conditions. Zero visibility. Avoid travel unless absolutely necessary. He turned the dial down. No turning back now. The road in front of him was ghostly. No cars, no taillights, just snow swallowing everything. Even the trees seemed like shadows in the headlights' dim flicker. He let his mind wander for just a second, imagining the kitchen back home. Maybe heating up a can of soup. Maybe cornbread if they had milk. That's when he caught it. Flicker. Shape. Pulse of dim orange light. Hazard lights. His heart skipped. His foot eased off the gas. He guided the truck slowly to the side, tires crunching over the ice. There it was. A black Range Rover, wedged into the snow like it had slid and given up. The back tires were nearly buried. No sound. No movement. Just a cracked open window, barely wide enough for air. Or maybe a cry for help. Malik's instincts kicked in. He glanced at Nia, still fast asleep, then reached back and tucked the blanket higher around her little shoulders. She murmured in her sleep but didn't wake. He opened his door, and the cold slapped him hard. The wind sliced across his face, the snow stinging like needles. His sleeves were soaked in seconds. Still he trudged toward the SUV. He knocked. Nothing. He yelled. "Hey, you okay in there?" Still silence. He pressed his face to the glass, hands cupped to block the snow. And there he saw her. A woman, head slumped over the wheel, motionless. His gut twisted. He tried the door. Without wasting time, he sprinted back to his truck, flung open the door, and yanked out a crowbar he kept beneath the seat. His hands moved fast, practiced, urgent. He jammed the bar through the cracked window, popped the lock. The door swung open with a groan, and her body leaned toward him, limp, cold. "Jesus," he whispered, catching her before she hit the snow. Her skin was like marble. Her lips edged with blue. Barely breathing. No hesitation. No questions. He scooped her up, holding her like something precious and fragile, and made his way back through the storm, snow pelting his face, wind howling around him. Back in the truck, he laid her across the seat, threw his thick coat over her, and cranked the heat all the way up, knowing it wasn't much but it was something. From the back seat, a small voice cut through the silence. "Daddy, who's that?" Malik looked back at his daughter, her sleepy eyes now wide. "Someone who needs our help," he said, gently brushing the woman's icy forehead. She was alone out there. Then he turned back to the road and kept driving, into the storm. The truck groaned as it crawled up the icy road toward home. Malik's hands were white-knuckled around the wheel. The woman, who he still didn't know, was slouched beside him, wrapped in his coat, breathing shallow but steady now. Every few seconds he glanced her way. Just to check. Just to be sure. The cold he knew too well. It crept in silently. Took without mercy. In the back seat, Nia sat upright now, quiet. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. She could feel the weight in the air. Her father's silence was louder than words. At last they pulled into the driveway. The house stood small and quiet behind bare trees, its porch light flickering in the wind. Malik parked as close as he could, left the engine running, and circled to the passenger side. Gently, he lifted the woman again. Her head stirred just slightly, a hopeful sign. Inside the house it was warmer. Not much but enough. Enough to matter. He laid her down on the couch near the wood stove, then moved quickly, pulling off her wet boots, replacing them with thick socks, wrapping her legs in a quilt worn soft with age. "Nia, sweetheart, bring me that thermos," he said, nodding toward the table. She brought it right away. He poured the tea into a chipped mug and held it to the woman's lips. She took a sip. Her throat moved. Then, slowly, her eyes opened. Sea blue. Dazed. Afraid. "You're okay," Malik said softly. "You're safe now." "Where?" she whispered, voice barely there. "Clawbrook," he replied. "You passed out in your car. I couldn't leave you." She stared at him, eyes scanning his face. No judgment. Just confusion. And gratitude. "I was trying to get to the lodge," she murmured. "My phone died. GPS. Got lost. Then the engine." "Shoo," Malik said gently. "Don't push it. You're here now." Across the room, Nia stood holding her own blanket, eyes wide. "Is she gonna be okay?" she asked, voice small. Malik looked over, then back at the woman on the couch. "Is she a princess?" Nia asked again, voice barely above a whisper, testing the waters like a child does when something feels magical but unfamiliar. Malik chuckled under his breath, shook his head slowly. But before he could answer, Claire let out a soft laugh. A real one this time, not forced or polite, but warm and genuine. "Not quite," she said, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear with fingers still trembling slightly. "I work with cars too." "Sort of." Nia's eyes brightened instantly. "Like Daddy," she gasped, stepping even closer, her little voice filled with awe. Claire hesitated, her smile faltering just a touch, then returning, steadier this time. "Maybe not exactly like him," she said gently. Malik rose quietly, retreating to the kitchen. The ladle clinked softly against the pot as he scooped up some soup, thick, steaming, hearty, into a cracked old bowl, setting it carefully in front of Claire. "It ain't fancy," he muttered with a shrug, almost shy. "But it'll warm you up." Claire looked at the bowl. Steam curling up from the surface like a small offering. Chunks of potato and chicken floated in a broth that smelled like something old and good. "Care." She lifted the spoon slowly, tasted it, and paused. "It's perfect," she said. And she meant it. The fire popped in the background, casting long shadows across the room. The walls around her were worn, patched with maps, receipts, old memories. One picture stood out on the mantel. Malik, younger, smiling wide, cradling a baby Nia beside a woman with tired but joyful eyes. "You live here alone?" Claire asked softly, her voice almost hesitant. Malik's jaw tightened, then relaxed. "Just me and Nia now." She didn't pry. She just nodded, absorbing that truth like another log tossed into the fire. And that silence. It wasn't awkward. It was heavy in a good way, like the kind that means something passed between two people that didn't need explaining. Outside, the wind had almost stopped completely. The storm that had tried to swallow them all was now just a whisper across the windows. Inside,